Good afternoon and good afternoon, everyone. I know it's Sunday and everybody's at breakfast, chilling out, whatever. But I've been seeing an incident going on that I really felt compelled to say something. Being a military veteran, and not just being a military veteran, but also growing up in the military as well. So I get both parts of being a military veteran and everything else. So for those guys who haven't seen it, there is an incident out there where a Windsor Police officer pulls over an active duty military second lieutenant. Because of some violations that he felt. Well, when they saw the car, it was a new Lake Tahoe, right? The Tahoe car, and it was tinted and it didn't have license plates. In fact, the license plates did have was on cardboard, and so this really pushed up the level. And the police officer who was pursuing this car or following this car automatically pushed it up to a high risk, and they call it a high risk traffic stop. So let me take a real quick look at the video, and then we'll start having a conversation about this. But for everybody that's out there, this is Veterans Council Veterans, and this is a special podcast so we can kind of get the heat down. Good afternoon, VCV fans on LinkedIn and on Facebook. This is Tony Williams from Veterans Council Veterans, and I'm going to approach a topic I think it's important we start doing now, because too often it gets way out of reach, and we just feed on the emotions, and we have a really hard time with this. So, if any of you guys out there, and maybe you couldn't hear me in my intro, there's been a video going around where a couple police officers from the Windsor Police from Virginia pulled over a active duty second lieutenant. And really, it went viral ever since. Now, to set the stage, what really happened originally was that when the police officers were tailing this vehicle, it was a Tahoe, new Tahoe, and it had tinted windows, and it had the license plates. Didn't have license plates, but as you'll notice from the videos, they did have license plates. It was in cardboard. Anyway, the officers at the time looked at this as being a high-risk traffic stop, and they acted accordingly. I want you to see a real quick snippet of what's going on, and then we're going to have a conversation. What Veterans Council Veterans are doing is it's time to have conversations. It's time to stop yelling at each other. It's time to listen to each other. So let the talking begin.
Traffic stop at BP. Going back.
Close the window down.
Felony traffic stop.
Put your hands out the window.
Felony traffic stop, 1836.
Put your hands out the window. Turn the vehicle off. Put your hands out the window.
How many occupants?
All units 213.
How many occupants are in the vehicle?
What's going on?
How many occupants are in your vehicle?
It's only myself. Why is your weapons drawn? What's going on?
Open the door slowly and step out. Open the door.
I'm not getting out the vehicle. What's going on?
Get out.
So to set the stage there, what we have right there as two police officers is police officer Joe Gutierrez and Daniel Crocker, and the one being pulled over is Caron Nazario, and he's a second lieutenant in the Army, and he's being pulled over. And one of the things I noticed when it comes to these altercations, a lot of people try to make this as a race thing, black against white. This is not a race thing, because in this particular scenario, both Nazario and Gutierrez are both Hispanic descent, and it wasn't, hey, you can't say, well, black and white. We want to get past that narrative. You may see that in media, you may see that on these posts, but it's really not a black and white thing. It's really bigger picture than that of what we're dealing with when we deal with some police. And with FYI, for those that out there, I'm not against the police. In fact, my wife's a retired law enforcement officer, and for me, I don't look at it from that kind of point of view. I look at it from what is going on. Okay, I don't believe that all police officers, not even the majority of police officers, are bad or evil. It's those few that really just destroys the reputation of the rest. And what we don't understand in our country, because of media, the constant, the proliferation of media, that every police station is different. You got a whole different policing when you talk national, from the FBI and those guys to the state, and then you got the counties and the states and mayors. So all of them have different rules. We got to understand that. We can't sit there and blame a county or a town and then say all police. So I want to make sure that's very important as well. But let me just set the stage. One thing I always say is that we hear different things. When someone said we hear different things. In this particular clip, the police officer keeps saying, you know, obey me, obey me, obey me. That's what they hear. Obey me, obey me. And what Lieutenant Nasario is saying is, what's going on? What's going on? Listen to this clip.
Traffic stop at BP. Going back.
Roll the window down.
Felony traffic stop.
Put your hands out the window.
Felony traffic stop, 1836.
Put your hands out the window. Turn the vehicle off. Put your hands out the window.
How many occupants?
All units 213.
How many occupants are in the vehicle?
What's going on?
How many occupants are in your vehicle?
It's only myself. Why is your weapons drawn? What's going on?
Open the door slowly and step out. Open the door.
I'm not getting out the vehicle. What's going on?
Get out the car. Open the door slowly and get out.
What's going on?
Get out of the car now!
Open the door and get out the car.
Hold still. Hold. Keep your hands outside the window. Keep your hands outside the window.
My hands are right here. What's going on?
Get out of the car now!
Get out of the car.
What's
now!
going on?
Get out of the car now! Get out of the car now!
I'm serving this country and this is how I'm treated?
Yo, what? Guess what? I'm a veteran too. I don't know.
So the thing is important. You listen to that video is that the police officers are given commands. Get out of your car. Get out of your car. Put your hands up. Put your hands out. Let me see your hands. Get out of the car. Get out of the car. And the lieutenant is saying, "What's going on? What's going on? What's going on?" And what I always caution people when they're in a situation, I know it's a difficult situation when you're a police officer and all these events kind of just rush at you, but you have two people in different spheres of readiness, right? Both of them are in a state of survival, and that the one survival is that the police officer saying, "Get out the car, obey me," and then the second lieutenant is like, "What's going on? What's going on?" Now, one thing that the second lieutenant did, and a lot of people who are African Americans feel you have to do this. He was afraid, so what he did was he put his emergency lights on, and he went to a BP gas station. And he did that because why did he do that? Because A, he was afraid of all this media about the police and stuff being a bad apple. He was afraid for his life. So what he did was he purposely went to a BP station for a couple of reasons. One, it was a well-lit area. Okay. Second, he knew it was a public area. And third, he knew that the BP gas station is going to have video cameras too. Because oftentimes what happens with people of different colors is that the camera doesn't work or whatever, and it's just your word against theirs. So he knew that A, it was a lit area, it was a public area, and the cameras are rolling not just on him. Another fourth thing he did, what I thought was very smart, is he put the camera on himself. So that way you can get a chance of seeing the different conversations going on. The one thing I will say is that when you have the camera on yourself, you act differently, right? You don't act the same if the camera's not showing. And so I can't say that Lieutenant Nasario didn't kind of play to the camera, but at the same time, the cops had body cams too. They got to play to the camera too. If you don't play to the camera, then you're going to suffer the consequences. Because now it looks really crazy. So I wanted to make sure we had that betrayal. Another thing that I want, and I hope that we have a conversation, because this is important. I just don't want to do all the talking. That we need to have a conversation too, like what's going on with our police, if there's anything. Is the police getting a bad rap? Are we getting this one or two clips, and all of a sudden, it paints the whole police force? What's going on, and it's going to take conversation, not yelling and screaming at each other, accusing each other of being racist or whatever, but actual real good conversation. So I tell you what I thought was interesting to me is that the Lieutenant Nasario had his uniform on, and that's important because that means he represents the United States military and the president. You may not like that, but when you got uniform on, until you got to de-escalate, because if you don't and you shoot this guy, you have a serious incident going on that's going to affect this whole country. So if you are a police officer and you see somebody wearing a uniform, you got to take a step back and realize you're not talking to that individual. You're talking to the President of the United States and the military. He may not be in the military. I'm not saying he is or not, but you just got to take a step back. You can ask him to identify, to make sure he is in the military. Then you can go on. But when you see that uniform on, you're not only representing he's not representing that individual in the car, but he's representing the United States military. And if he shot that guy, some serious repercussions could have happened. So that's something that I think is where I thought was very important here.
You're afraid to get out. Can I?
Yeah, you should be. Get out.
What's
Get
going
out.
on? What
Get
did
out
I
the car.
do?
Get out now.
I have not committed any crimes.
You're being stopped for a traffic violation. You're not cooperating at this point right now. You're under arrest
For a traffic-
You're being detained. Okay, you're being detained for
For a
obstruction of justice.
traffic violation, I do not have to get out the vehicle. You haven't even told
Really?
me why I'm being stopped.
Really?
Get your hands.
Get out of the car now. Get out of the car.
Get your hands off me,
Get out.
please. Get your hands off me.
You know what?
Get your hands off me. Get your hands off me.
Back up,
I
Daniel.
didn't do anything. Don't do that.
Sir,
Get out of the car
Don't do
now.
that.
Hey, sir,
Get out of
do
the car
that.
now.
Don't do.
look,
I'm trying to talk
get out.
to you.
Okay.
I'm trying to
I'm gonna
talk.
talk to you.
Get out.
Just get out of my
Relax.
car.
Can you please
Get out.
relax? Can
Get
you
out.
please relax?
Get out of the car right now.
This
Now.
is not how you treat a vet. I'm actively serving this country, and this is how you're gonna treat me.
Back up, Daniel.
I didn't do
Back
anything.
up.
Whoa, hold on.
Back
What's going? Hold on. Watch it.
And for
So you see that after he says I'm actively serving the military, and Guterres is continually spray. And I like seeing the two angles, because what happens when you see the two angles, you get a chance to see what it looks like from the police officer's point of view, and then what it looks like from the passenger. And he's getting sprayed by the police officer, and of course that's an effect too. So these are actions that we're looking at that has to be looked at. Is this the right thing to do? If the guy's resisting or not getting out of the car, do you pepper spray him without knowing what's going on? So that's something I wanted to bring in too. This is another clip I thought was very interesting to me, and you can comment on it as well.
Out.
Don't reach in there, Daniel. Don't reach in there.
My hands are out. Please. Please. Look. This is really messed up. My dog is in the back. My dog is choking right
Get
now.
out of the car. Take your seatbelt off. What are you, a specialist, corporal? What are you?
I'm a lieutenant.
Lieutenant, get out of the car. Take your
I'm
seatbelt
gonna-
off and get out of the car. You made this way more difficult than it had to be. You just complied.
So you saw that. So now there's a couple of things that played out there, especially in the military, that I think is important. Was the guy saying you got to obey, right? That's what the police officers, the police officer comes and says you get out the car, which saying is being obeyed. And what I thought was, if you're a military person, what you hear is, I'm a veteran too, right? Which should be a safe thing. When somebody says I'm a veteran too, that usually makes you feel safe. Right? That, oh, well, okay, this guy wanted me. He's going to treat me differently. Instead, he says, what are you, a specialist or a corporal? Right? And that's done. Trust me, that's not, some that's racism, but that's done. Even when I was in the military, I was an officer, even our own race would assume that an African-American is probably listed first before he's officer. So I'm not saying it's a racist thing, but I'm just more talking about how normally when somebody else says they're a veteran, you're normally in a safe space. But in this case here, you're not in a safe space. And when he told me lieutenant, instead of him saying, hey, sir, he's like, yeah, damn guard. So there was like no respect, no kind of way of even recognizing this guy is a lieutenant officer in the United States Army, even though you're a veteran. Here's something else I think is important as well.
Yes, sir. You're not.
Can you please talk to me about what's going on? Why am I being treated like this? Why?
You're not cooperating. Get on the ground.
Why am I being treated like this? This is really messed up. This is really
Come on, sir. Sir, well, just
This
work
is
with me.
really, this is up.
Sir.
Up.
Sir.
Sir. You know this
Lay down.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here.
So, all right, so what you saw there is that he's like saying, why am I being treated this way? Why am I being treated this way? And I think that's a big thing too. You feel like from your point of view, you feel like it's an unfair stop. You feel like you haven't done anything, and here you are being taken to the ground, treated like almost like it reminded me of the Iraq and Afghanistan, where we treat the guys as prisoners of war. Where you have to get them on the knees and the hands, and hey, you're our prisoner, and that's a really humiliating thing to experience. And I just think that we as a country are better than this. I'm glad in a lot of ways that we got a chance to see this. I know this is kind of like different than what we're used to as far as seeing the police, because we have the ability now to see things that we normally don't see. With all this Facebook and stuff going on here, we can now see things real time. I do want to say that the major players on this in this video is, and we haven't talked about it, major players in the video is that we have the Sergeant Gutierrez, Joe Gutierrez, we have Crocker, we have Second Lieutenant Nazario, and we also have the Windsor Police Department. All these people are what we're looking at. And again, is it a race thing? I don't really see it as much as a race thing as I see is that the police need, I think the police need better training when it comes to this, that they need constant training. When you have the authority and license to kill someone, you need to be trained all the time because you just don't know what's going on. You got to know what your people out there are doing. So I really think that if you're given the ability to kill somebody, you have to have you have to be accountable. You have to have constant training, no matter who you are. I don't care if you're at the local level, at the mayor or the county, or if you're up at the federal level. You need constant training because our lives are in your hands. And remember, in context, the police department and National Guard were the arms of back in the day when there was racism, institutional racism. They were the ones that ate you. They're the ones that pulled you out the buses. They're the one that put you in the cafeterias and that kind of stuff. So that's something we got to be sensitive about. I'm curious if anybody out there, I'll have some questions here. Like I'm gonna bring some comments up here real quick and see what everybody's saying here. First, I got Mark Smith, and he says, just a question: what actually started this thing? Well, Mark, what actually started this was that how police person is that you are already you're looking for stuff, and in it the police was seeing him. They saw this towel, a new towel hall. It was tinted windows, and he didn't have license plates. So this to them was given, hey, this is what we call in the military and intel. These are what we call indicators and warnings. This is telling you, hey, something going on here. I mean, this guy ain't got license plates. He got tinted windows, and he got a brand new car that they may use. So that's what started it. They called Crocker called it in and said, look, it's a high risk traffic stop. That's what started suspicion. Wasn't that he did any kind of violation or anything. Wasn't like he was speeding. Wasn't like he was, he went through a stop sign. It was just his vehicle looked suspicious. They didn't believe his license, whatever he had the license in the cardboard, and that's why they decided to do that. I got another question here from Daniel Touche, who's and we talked about. So the lieutenant was prepared and intelligent. He responded to the systematic abuse of police behavior with calm. His message is clear: you will not abuse me. I'm a citizen that you must respect. I'm prepared to act accordingly. If you abuse me, he confronted abusive police behavior that the population denies. And Dan, I do agree with you on that because clearly the police, the lieutenant thought this through, right? He didn't overreact and he didn't sit there and throw his hands in any kind of aggressive nature. But he also knew that his life was possibly in danger because of they're already in a heightened state of alert, right? They're already when you come out to a gas station, both your guns are pointed. Okay, the next step is pulling the trigger, and that doesn't take much. It's a little tiny finger and the trigger's pulled. Even though they were in a situation where they were in a gas station, shoot, a lot of gas stations tell you can't even put your cell phone and go next to the tank. These guys had tasers out, they had the weapons out. And so he knew that if he said something differently, if he did something contrary, he may have found himself getting shot. So in this case, the lieutenant was smart. I wish that and I don't know. That's what we got to find out through this lawsuit, because that's another thing that Lawrence mentioned here. That one of Lawrence's question is that didn't they notice the temporary tags on the upper right rear window? And and that's going to come out through the lawsuit. What did he really? That's another thing that you're going to see here too. That the sergeant wrote, I'm assuming the sergeant, but Joe Gutierrez wrote a report, and there's some stuff that's in his report that does not align with what happened in front of the dash cam. He was not in pursuit. Okay, he's like this vehicle's in pursuit. They showed that they showed in the dash cam. They showed that his car was driving real slow. He had the emergency flashes on, and he went to a gas station. So that is and that's what they're gonna hash out when they go to court. Is that an accurate statement that he put in his thing here? So Lawrence, I appreciate that question as well. So anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Okay, here's Mark here. Right? Mark has something I want to see. Look at this. So Mark, So Mark says, some context for me. I'm a retired U.S. Army captain, as well as a former law enforcement officer. Thanks for that context. So it was just a suspicious vehicle, which is not probable cause. No license plate is, but if you had a temporary tag, that negates that probable cause. Sound like the officers were in the wrong from the get-go, period. And Mark, you know, as we hash this out, we identify the facts and mistruths. That's the thing we're going to find out, because it looked like from our uneducated, we're not law enforcement officers, but it looks like that this could have been de-escalated in so many ways that it wasn't. There's, you know, like you said, if there was a license, if the license plate was on the cardboard, boom, that's it. It's going to see, you're going to see that in the dash cam, right? You're going to see it in the dash cam if that license plate was up there in the cardboard or not. If it wasn't displayed, then that's a whole different story, right? But even if that's the case, right? It's not like he took off in high speed, like, you know, high speed chasing, or he's going through. No way. The guy, and you can see with the dash cam, the guy put on emergency lights, and he drove real slow to the next public area, which was a BP gas station. So that's what I think was a smart. That he did everything that we should have seen in the book. The books, everybody's telling us that they're supposed to do. So that's important, that he followed the rule here. Now, Mark says something. I'm going to try to show this. Mark says also, officers are also trained that just because a person doesn't stop immediately and maneuvers to a safe lighted location, they are still fine with no issue. Bottom line, from my point of view, these officers are in the wrong altogether. And again, that's going to be something that that's going to be adjudicated in the legal system. But in the training piece, there's another guy named I forgot his name, it escapes me, but he was talking about the whole condition of these small police forces, these small police forces that are poorly staffed, poorly funded, and maybe they don't get the kind of training they need to have. So we got to look at that too. We got to make sure as a government that we make sure that all these little local police stations get the funding they need to make sure they get the right training and the right officer. But yeah, in common sense, right? Again, I'm not a law enforcement. You're a law enforcement officer. It just seemed like that's the thing we were taught to do. We were taught, if you feel like you're in it, there are women out there who, if they don't know if that's even a real cop, so they're taught to go to a little area, a public area, before you let that person in. And then there was conflicting orders. Crocker was saying, get out of the car, and then Gutierrez was like, stay in the car, and everybody's going back and forth, and that's confusing. So only one person should be given the command, right? That's no other. One person should be given the command. You could tell on Crocker's face. You could see the face. He was like, "Oh my God!" You know, he could see that he started seeing some of the eyes. You could see that. He just reminded me of the second lieutenant. You know, and I take a little personal because obviously you guys don't know, but I was enlisted first, became an officer, and I was a second lieutenant. So when I saw that second lieutenant BDUs, I saw me, and I thought until today I would be safe as long as I had something to say, that I was a veteran, I could do that, we would have a good conversation. That didn't happen at that time. I don't know how that's going to affect Nasario's unit, the morale, and all that kind of stuff, because this is going to have some effects if somebody doesn't do something with this. So the unit is responsible right now, that he belongs to take care of it, because Nasario is going to go back. He's going to start talking. They're going to have a real bad relationship between the unit and the police officers in that area of the VA. And the media will have a tendency to try to make it a national issue and make it like, oh, all the police are like that. Something that Mark said also, he says, if a lawsuit is filed, we find out the end right. Yeah. So, you know, at the end of the day, we're going to see what was really said through the law. When the law gets put out. Now, I suspect I'm really curious about what the military is going to say, because of course this guy's on BUs, and most people out there know the military. We always try to tell our soldiers, it's okay to wear a uniform, but only doing business, right? Don't just wear it because you are representing the United States of America. And so we want to make sure that if you are stopped, you're stopped because you're going to business or whatever, not just walking around like you're chilling. So that's going to be re-emphasized, I'm sure, the unit, by make sure when you wear your uniform, you're wearing it on these circumstances only, going back and forth to business, right? Because of that representation. But we still got to sit there and let the law play out. Which, you know how the media is. They got ADHD, so they're going to try to have the law already talked about before we even get to what's going on with this here. Lawrence mentioned that the issue is that they have approached guns drawn. what was the point of that? Again, that's why I wanted to have some conversations with other police officers who may be on listen to this, because what are the circumstances where you have it's the right protocol, it's right standard operating procedures that you draw your weapon, because that's what we as laymen don't see. We say, my God, why has he got the guns out? You know, he's not showing any kind of thing. He got his hands out, his window like this here, and they got the weapons out. They're just one trigger away from having a catastrophe. I don't know what the rules are as far as that. We got to find out what the rules are from not just the state, but what the local rules are. That when do you draw your weapon? Some people say when you're inferior yourself. That's a blanket thing, right? I was inferior myself, so I drew a weapon. And other units and other organizations may have a more, hey, you draw your weapons when I don't really know. I mean, when you're a police officer, you're always in a danger. You're possibly every situation you're in, you always look at it being a dangerous situation. You can't sit there and just assume that person's good, because that could end up being killed. But at the same time, you got to be careful. So I just I just look at this, and I'm not a police officer, and hopefully maybe I can get somebody on that is, or somebody else out there can have a police officer on that can kind of give us a sense of what's going on. Why did this happen? Is there a way we can change it? Because the good thing, my people, my friends, is the good thing, he didn't get killed, right? It's not like the George Floyd and those kind of things. He's still alive. And I used to always say, obey, obey, obey to live another day, right? Obey, obey, obey to live another day. And in this case here, I didn't really see Lieutenant Nasario really obey him, because they kept saying, get out the car. But at the same time, he kept his composure. He didn't escalate the situation. He made sure there's no danger. These are things you want to train your soldiers if you're in the military, that these are the things you do when you escalate. You gotta, maybe it's another EO thing where we sit there and we train the minority military, the enlisted officers. This is what you do when you're being approached by a law enforcement officer, so that it doesn't get out of control. And I think in a lot of ways what Lieutenant Nasario did was was probably almost textbook, except that maybe there was a point in time when he could have gotten out, and obeyed and say, whatever. But I don't know, because again, that wasn't me. It's a very feral, scary situation, and you don't know if any sudden movement could have cost you your life, because again, I'm just looking at the mentality of it. This guy is possibly deploying, and what's going on through his mind that here he is at home, not back in 1950s and 60s, over here I'm respected, back here I'm not. So what's going on through his mind with this kind of altercation? Is he going to feel? What's he going to feel? And how's this going to permeate? We got this social media going on, so you're going to see this stuff looping all the time, loop on this whole thing here. I wanted to have a conversation. I'm thankful that Mark and Lawrence are saying stuff that needs to be listened to. I want to make sure it's a safe conversation, that we're not going to be accusing each other. We just want to understand what is going on. Why did this happen? Fortunately, he wasn't killed, whatever. So anyway, I just wanted to have this quick conversation, because I wanted to make sure that we had a conversation. We started a conversation. I'm encouraging anybody out there who has their own streamline, whatever, that we need to talk about this as well. We have to have this conversation going, so that we don't get escalated somewhere else. That this doesn't come to something different. So anyway, I appreciate you guys who are on your Sunday, listen to my broadcast, and I'll let you guys get on with the rest of your Sunday. And if any comments, let me know. If there's no questions, now I know, and Mark keeps saying, Mark says, he's got law enforcement experience. He's still continuing about, from what he's seen, there's no reason why the weapons should have been drawn. So hopefully that'll come out, and we'll have more information as they finish the lawsuit. If it's not, I guess the sad part is this could be settled out of court. We won't know. These things like this here, they should not be settled out of court, right? These things like this, we should be having a conversation and knowing what the hell's going on. When it's settled out of court, it stops everything, and the training stops. One thing I noticed that Crocker was there, and he had the deer in headlights kind of look, and I'm like, if it wasn't for this cameras and stuff, is this how he would have learned how to treat people? Would this have been his new training of, hey, this is how I did it, I'm going to do it myself? So hopefully this will give them pause, and that we always talk about, in the military, anybody from military, one of the things that we always stress, because it's hard for us, we're always taught obey your orders, obey your orders, obey your orders, right? Then finally, we came up with a thing called obey a lawful order. Because we found out that sometimes you can obey an order and it's not lawful. And guess what? You're just culpable if you obey an unlawful order. And I think that's kind of what Nasario's doing. I'm not sure about counseling. Yeah, if it's lawful order, don't do it. But he said, hey, this is a routine traffic stop. I ain't got to get in my car. And so in his mind, that was an unlawful order. I'm not sure if I would have done that. I would not translate what you do in the military to what we do here in the civilian world. But I just, again, it's a wake up call. I don't want this to be a condemnation of police officers all over the country. It's not. I really, truly believe that the very few officers are like this, and they paint everybody else a bad picture, and then it becomes a national thing. Now all the police forces are like this. They're racist, or whatever, and that's not true. I just think it's a small Windsor police station. The police chief need to answer to this. And we got it, and I think he needed first one to answer to this, and then maybe the Secretary of Defense or somebody like that, because just like the Marine that had a problem driving it because she didn't know that she found her sexual assault assailant was still retained, and that really went viral. It went up to the Secretary of Defense like this fast. Back in the day when I was in the military, it took so long. By the time it got to him or her, we would have squashed it. But today, just a video, and now you got to start backpedaling, explaining. So I'm really curious about what the DOD is going to do, what is going to be some of their lessons learned, and some of their protocols when it comes to law enforcement officers and the military, and how we're going to move forward. That's very, very important as we move forward in this thing here. So again, I just wanted to. My time is up. I'm going to talk like 30 minutes. I'm already exhausted. I just want to make sure we had a conversation, continue the conversation, make sure the conversation is constructive and not destructive, because we can't get anywhere if it's going to be destructive. See, now this is what Mark said here. He said the whole problem right now, and this is not just law enforcement and military, but the entire social environment. The current geopolitical environment is so screwed that everybody on both sides don't even know how to act. This example, thankfully, it didn't turn out with a horrible end. It's just a small snapshot of overarching issue we face. And Mark, I agree with that, and I think that with the social media, they have their own agenda. So they're not going to sit there and try to explain things and bring the temperature down. So you're going to constantly see a loop. You're going to see the political people get involved, and it gets so unattainable. And I think that, I think there's people out there who benefit from us being divided. Let's be honest. There are people out there who like us being divided, and they're going to keep this going, and no matter what we say, and that's going to divide our country, make our country harder and stuff, instead of just talking facts, or what's going on. So for the media to the political situation, that doesn't help out any. And then the law enforcement out there who feel like they got to be defensive. I'd say that out there who are law enforcement out there, all I say to you is that it's like in the military, hold your people accountable. Hold your people accountable that's the number one thing I can say to you. In the military, if I see somebody doing something wrong, I correct them. We call on-the-spot correction. I think the law enforcement should be the same way, and they should have more guidance. And if somebody doesn't operate appropriately, somebody should sit there and hold those police officers accountable. So that's something that needs to be pushed on as well. Wow. So I've been talking for that. I'm already talked out. Hope this helped and not hurt the conversation was going on, because I just woke up this morning. I kept seeing all these posts what's going on with this the situation. I felt like I'm compelled to say something since I am in the military. I grew up in the military as a kid. I've been in the military 24 years. I wanted to make sure that that somebody said something on a positive side on this here. So thank you guys for all your comments. I want to make sure I get Kara in here. Kara's made a couple comments here. I want to make sure that she's heard. We got to hold each other accountable. She agree. Thumbs up for everybody agrees with that. We got to hold each other accountable. Kara also said there has to be a conversation about these issues. Thank you from Wounded Warrior Canada. Oh, we got Wounded Warrior in Canada. But we got to continue the conversations. But the conversations got to be had by the right people, or it just becomes an argument match on political one-upmanship. So thank you again. So I'm out of here this is Tony Wynn from Veterans Council of Veterans. Enjoy your day. Yes.